a ghost. The sport is about history. The sport is about people fighting for the country. The sport is about prisoners. The sport is about soldiers, training. Alright, so let's see if you guys are paying attention. What was the sport used for?
To help capture
Prisoners.
slaves.
Escapers.
Soldiers.
Dictator.
People that broke the law. The South.
People from the South, what were they called?
Soldiers.
Immigrant.
They were soldiers.
Oh.
But
They were called
it's
not
actually
the Union, not the Union.
the Union was the North. Good, good. You got half of it. So the soldiers in the South, what were their names?
Wow.
They were the Confederates.
Yes.
The Confederates. All right, I'm gonna re-quiz you guys after this and make sure you guys are paying attention.
All right.
All right.
I have
So
a
Confederate soldiers. But why would we have? All right. So if Confederacy was in the South and the Union guys were in the North. Why would they have guys from the South up here?
Because they were captured.
They were captured, so they were prisoners here, right? So, but more than that, they used some of these rooms for prisoners. So this was a prison for the Confederates. But also, the guys from the North who were going down south to fight, the Union soldiers actually being trained here too. So they'd have Union guards to watch the prisoners, but they'd also be training here, practicing, learning how to fire weapons and everything. So this is almost like a boot camp, essentially, for new guys that were going down to fight. So the lady, the story that you want to hear, the ghost story.
Yeah.
So think of that time. All right, when was? All right, so what war was that? When did the
Number three.
war? Number three?
Number two.
What are you talking about?
World War II. Wait, you talking about wars?
No, did we fight with ourselves in the first Civil War?
It was in the 1800s.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't the 1800s. There's only one Civil War. What is a Civil War?
The civil rights.
Civil rights. It's civil means what? It's local.
A
It's the
community,
rights, where you are.
Well, it was the South were fighting against the North because they wanted to be separated.
Yeah, you paid attention. You get a gold star. Whoever your chaperone is, I'm telling her that. Or him.
Miss Kelly told me.
All right, well, you paid attention.
I'm the one that gave it an answer.
All right. So during the, what war was it?
1800s.
1800s, Civil War. We fought, the North and the South were fighting with each other. Most of the battling was occurring in the South, okay? So, if they had a lot of prisoners, they needed a place for them. We had all this open space because we were training guys here. And this was also, what else was this fort originally built for? Why else? So they wouldn't just be they didn't just have prisoners here, they would just be training soldiers here. Why do you think they would have so many freaking guns? Because there are no guns right now, but you can imagine that there were guns lined up all along here on either side.
Just in case they attack.
Yes, just in case somebody was trying to attack
Under
this fort.
Or sneak in.
Yeah, or sneak in or anything, yep, for defense. And it wasn't because they want to attack the fort. This fort is actually protecting the city of Boston, everybody in Boston, because at that time, they didn't have the Air Force. You couldn't have, like, planes dropping bombs on you. You'd have, most people were coming from ships. So that's a way to transport a lot. They
1800s.
had trains, they had horses and buggies. But they would you can't, trains are on a track. They have to go in a straight line. So if a town's over on here, I mean, you could just blow up the track. But people would come from ships to try to invade the city of Boston. But because the war was being fought mostly in the South, they didn't need this fort for protection. So what they did is that they just used all this space for prisoners.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
What happened?
So
Wilbert.
there was one prisoner in particular named Michael Lanier.
He had a wife named Mary. Or Kate.
Margaret.
Yeah.
Margaret. He was a prisoner from the South, a Confederate prisoner. And his prison cell, it was really crowded. It was the whole of a lot of prisoners. There's a ton of them in one room, so it was really cramped. That last door down there, that's where he was.
Ooh.
Now, he had just gotten married because he loved this girl, Margaret, right? And she loved him. They were so in love. It was a new romance. They were so happy together. And when he was sent away to fight, she was heartbroken. And she was even more heartbroken that he got captured and taken to the North. Where all these, they didn't like us up here. So they called us every bad name in the book, stupid Yankees or whatever. They didn't like that. She absolutely hated that. Her husband was up here with these
Be quiet and
stupid
listen to
Yanks,
the story.
right? So they would write letters back and forth because the prisoners were allowed to write letters to back home to their loved ones. And they came up with a plan that she was going to break him out of prison.
Oh my
Right?
God.
This is a prison?
Okay, you're wasting my minute. Come on.
to the story. Then
So,
you were dead.
plan. He drew out a map and told her exactly where he'd be, like the times and stuff. Like, all right, the guards leave for break at this time. So it was really planned and coordinated down to the T. Like, she knew exactly where he was going to be and how to get in. But they obviously didn't have any women in forts at that time. Women were allowed to be in the military. Women were allowed to really work. So she had to come up with a real good plan to disguise herself. So she was staying with some, she was from the south, so she had to take a ship all the way up here, and they had some Confederate sympathizers up here. People who, didn't agree with the battle and didn't agree that, the country had the right to tell people what to do. So she stayed with them, and she was able to get her hands on like a Union officer's clothing, like a guard's outfit. So she dressed just like a guard, disguised herself like a man, and she had a small pistol, a small little sidearm. But back in the 1800s, rifles, guns like that were new technology. They didn't have like small guns. Most of their guns were long, muzzle loading, black powder, inaccurate weapons. So she had one of the, it was new technology, but it wasn't that good. Like, think of like the first old cell phones. Can you remember like the first cell phones, how big and bulky they were? They had no cameras. Guns technology too. These were lousy guns. Well, good for their time, but not very accurate. So she had one of those, and she was able to get into the fort, sneak right on through, because they just thought she was a guard. And she walked right up to where her husband was, took him out. Then an actual guard who was coming back on duty was like, "Who are you? I didn't get any orders that we were moving prisoners around at this time. Let me see your papers." He walked up to her, "Where are your papers? Where are your orders to move a prisoner?" And she didn't know what to say because she talked. They would have heard that it was a woman, not a man. So she froze, she didn't know what to do. So she pulled out a gun and fired at the guard. But because it was this old-fashioned type of gun, no, worse. The gun backfired, it jammed. So the gun blew up. And all that shrapnel went right next to her husband, killed her husband. So the gun was ruined, the guards knew this. They took her cover was blown. They knew she was trying to help him escape. So obviously that was a top crime. Her sentence was death. And they had to make an example out of her. Nobody's gonna try to sneak in here and help prisoners escape. So she was sentenced to be hanged right here in this fort.
Wait, where are you?
Right
Over
by-
there.
Over there, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
In the trees. 2 trees.
yeah, so they asked her, "Well, do you have any last requests before you to be killed?" She was heartbroken, obviously. She killed her husband, her plans are ruined, and she's captured. So she said, "Well, of course I do. I'm a dignified Southern woman. Here I am, dressed in these filthy, rotten Union clothes. I'm a woman from the South. I deserve to die in dignity. I want to be hanged in a dress, like a woman should, a respectable woman should." So this is a fort. It's all men. They're not going to go into Boston in the middle of the night to tell a tailor to make our clothes, because getting clothes wasn't easy at that time, because everything had to be handmade. They're like, "Well, we don't have any dresses here for you, but I'll do what I can." So they used to have a theater here, and they had big curtains for the theaters, like drapes. And they took down one of those drapes, and they tried to make some kind of a dress where they wrapped it around her. And that was the lady in black's dress, and she was hanged in that dress in this parade ground. And they say that her spirit is still roaming, still looking for an escape around these forts, around these walls. And I'll take you down to the tunnel where she's supposed to be seen, if you guys want to.
Yeah.
I'm ready for her.
Okay, you can't run, you can't scream, because I'll just make her upset.
Oh my
So,
god.
okay then. I'll show you, alright?
Keep your hand.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you.